Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thanks for watching. Well, welcome to my first tutorial for 2019. I can't believe it, I'm getting older. It was my birthday yesterday. 52, yuck. Anyway, I haven't filmed for all of December. I had at the beginning of December a cyst pop up on my eye, right on the lash line here. It was quite big and I just thought, oh, I just can't film. It just looked disgusting. It has gone down quite a bit and I have disguised it with some makeup. And on the 30th I'm booked in to have it removed, so we'll get that gone. Now in today's video I'm going to show you my eyeshadow technique that I use for my severely hooded eyes. Anyone with downturned, uneven, droopy eyes, this video will help you, I'm sure. Now most of my videos I do use this technique, but I go into a little bit more detail today. So let's get into the makeup. Okay, so I'm just starting off with all my complexion products done. I've done my foundation, prepped of course before that, foundation, bronzer, blush and highlight. Got a little bit of Leno lips on my lips just to smooth them out a little bit for prepping for lippy for later on. And of course I've put the pencil on my eyebrows. So I'm going in and showing you my eyeshadow technique for hooded eyes, downturned eyes, droopy eyes, uneven eyes. I've got all of the above. As you can see, a lot of my skin hangs right over the edge of my lash line there, so I'm really quite hooded. They do turn down slightly. They are uneven. This one's not quite as hooded as the other, and of course I call that droopy when they have that bit of skin there like that. So this is the technique that I use for my hooded eyes. So today I'm going to use the Venus XL, which is beautiful. I did think when I originally purchased it that it had a lot more pink in it, but it is quite purpley in colour. So if you like purple, that's absolutely a beautiful palette. But today I'm going to be using a few of the pinks. So first up I'll go in and prime my eyes. I'm using my P.Louise base in number 2, which I've found to be really probably the best base I've used. I've gone back to a concealer buffer brush to actually put it on. I was using a concealer brush. This just gets it a little bit more smooth, and I don't set this now. If I'm using vibrant colours I don't set it. If I'm using just a buff or a natural sort of colour I'll go in and set, where I don't have to really rely on products being vibrant. So just all over, just the tiniest amount on your brush. I mean that much is all you need. Now what I am going to do is go in with my beauty blender and just tap very lightly. It's slightly damp, and just tap over that just to get that even more smooth. Okay, so I'm going in with a Too-Faced brush. Now this is a all-over shadow brush, so you can see it's not a traditional blending brush as such. It's more for packing on colour on the lid. So I'm going to go in and pop on that colour. The first colour I'm going to be using is the Flora, which is that bright pink there. And just load up that end of my brush there, tap off any excess. So I'm going to look down into the mirror. I'm going to see where that lash line actually meets the hood of my eye there. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to place that colour so I can see it. So that's half the battle with hooded eyes, is that you just can't see the colours. So I'm just placing that, not terribly neatly, just sort of going around the shape of my eye there. And then towards the outside I'm just going to bring that out almost in a straight line. So I'm not following the curve of my eye, I'm actually bringing it outwards. Now if you've got uneven eyes, it's just a matter of eyeballing it once you've got this product in and making sure they both look even. You may need to put more colour in one area than another. So almost in a straight line there. And then I'm going to go into the outer corner and create that V shape there. Now if you're not putting colour on the bottom lash line, you do have to be careful with this colour here, in that you don't actually, what I've done right now, but I'm putting colour on the bottom lash line. But see how that colour's actually gone below the corner of my eye? So if you're not going to be putting colour on the bottom, make sure that colour does not go any lower than the corner of that eye. So what you really need to do is actually just have your eyes really relaxed to do it, and then put the colour in, because you can see the corner there. And I'm going down below, so I'm going to be connecting that colour up, so it won't matter. But just make sure if you're not going to be putting that colour in the bottom, just to make sure that doesn't go down any lower. So if you've got droopy or downturned eyes, it's just going to accentuate that. So I'm just using a patting motion just to pop this colour in. I'm basically just using the tip of the brush, and I'm just going back. This is basically, I would guess, the most important part of doing this technique on hooded eyes, is just to get this initial shape right. And you want as much vibrancy in there as you can from whatever colour you're using. So just patting that on will give that to you, rather than using a blending brush and blending it in. And then just keep going back and making sure you're checking it and making sure that they're even. Now it doesn't have to be perfect, because we are going to blend this, but if you get this pretty well down pat first up, gives you a better basis for the rest of the eyeshadow. So you can see what I've done there. I'm basically just going up, shape, and like I said, looking down first up to get that in, so you're not going too low or too high. Just the width of your brush, and then I'm just making sure both are looking like they're even and they're going in the right direction. So that's pretty well even. So I'm just going to wipe off any excess that I do have on the brush now. Now this is not a blending brush, but I'm just going to use the very tip of that just to blend the edge very lightly. No extra product of any sort. Just the edge. So just blending this initial colour just on the edge will just help you with the next colour, blending that into it. So just some back and forth circular motions. And you can see that edge is getting a bit more diffused there. Okay, so that's pretty well even. Now I don't want to go up really high, because I don't like the colour to be completely right up to my eyebrows. I need to leave a little bit of space there for a little bit of highlight underneath the brow. And I'm next going to take my Dose of Colours blending brush. Now it's not as big as, say, a Sigma E40. It's a little bit smaller and a little bit more tapered. You can see that, if you can see the ends there. Tiny bit thinner. This is the Dose of Colours on this side. So I'm going to go into a lighter pink, which is, for today I'm going to use the Scallop. And just a little bit on the tip, tap off the excess as well, and then just start up underneath the eyebrow here. And just circular motions, just blending the edge of that first colour again. Now if you do go up too high, which I'm starting to go up to a little bit too high, it's okay. When we put in our highlight colour later on, I'll blend that into that. Don't forget the outside corner there, just blend that circular motions into that pink. Okay, so I finished that blending, so you can see that there's no demarcation line between the two. Now this is where I need to go back into that very first colour, and not as high up as the blend, but just a little bit lower, but still making sure it's above that natural crease line. You're creating a crease line. I'm just going to go back in and put that deeper colour back in. So I'm just patting again. So you're coming in basically from the edge of the blend. And using a light hand doing this First time round we were a bit heavier handed, and this time I'm just going a little bit more light handed. Because as you know, when you blend you do lose colour, so you do need to go back in a few times. So you can see that vibrancy coming back. So as you can see, this is quite a blown out look, and I do think that's more flattering for hooded eyes. So you can see that darker colour there, and you've kept that shape. It's gone out in basically a straight line. You've got the corner in there like that, and then you've blended all the way around it. Okay, so I am going to put a highlight colour up here. I did mention that, and just to blend that in just a little bit more. Now, I think the best shape for hooded eyes is a cut crease, but I don't go in like, you know, some of the girls are just so pedantic about putting their colour or their concealer colour in so perfect. I really don't think it's necessary, so I'm going to go back in and I'll show you what I do. Just with my P.Louise again, on a concealer brush. So I just place the concealer or the P.Louise base close to my lash line there, and then I look up, put my head down, look up and look around, and you'll see the colour transfer or the product transfer, and that's where your cut line is going to be. So I just go back in, put a little bit more colour in along the lash line there, and then just follow that line. So right down into the inner corner. And then right into the outer corner. And then I do that same shape on the outside corner there. Now, like I said, you don't have to be too pedantic at all about this. But as you can see, that really opens your lid up. So it's just a new technique. Like I said, you don't have to be too pedantic, but once you've actually done it, and the colour stays on all day with this base, you'll appreciate it. And you can see that's not perfect. So I'm going to go straight in with my next colour. So I'm going to use a Makeup Forever 240 brush. It's flat, it's perfect, putting glitter, shiny, shimmery shadows on the lid. Nothing falls out using this brush. So I'm going to go in with Eden, which is a pinky red colour. And load up my brush both sides. And then just basically go and place that colour back over that concealer. It's a perfect shape for getting in that very corner of your eye as well. So what I'm going to do is just go over that with Ethereal, which is a lighter shimmery colour. Just a little bit too deep for me, this colour. Obviously with this technique you use any colour you like. That's a bit better. Just brighten that up a little bit more. Okay, so that Ethereal colour's brightened that up a little bit more and put a little bit of sparkle in there. Now I'm just going to go in with a smudge brush. This is just a cheapie, I think it's Model Co or something like that. With that very first colour, and I'm going to go in on the bottom lash line, a little bit thicker towards the outer edge here. And come in a little bit thinner as you go along. So this one's basically matching up with this crease colour here. So this is where I said if you're doing your bottom lash line, you really don't need to worry about that first colour, that crease colour that you put in going down too low, because it does join up, so it alleviates that problem. So this is why I do prefer a blown out look like this. it's just more flattering, I think, than actually having that real sharp demarcation line or like a wing shape. Speaking of wings, I'm going to attempt to do a tutorial for a winged liner for you for extremely hooded eyes in the next couple of weeks. Okay, so I've got that colour in there, and then I'm just going in with a smaller brush. This is a MAC 221 with that scallop colour, which is the light pink. So we're basically joining that up with this blend on the outside here and blending that pink in. Now, ordinarily when I do this, I always go back in and do that first colour again, just to deepen it up a bit more. So I'm just going to go in the waterline with that Hallberg crayon, a mood crayon. This one's in a bright red, which I absolutely love. And then your inner corner highlight, I would go back to the Ethereal. It's sort of the lightest colour in there. So just a little bit on the tip of your brush and just tap that in the very corner. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and finish off my brows using the Anastasia Dipbrow Pomade in Blonde, and then I'll come back and I'll show you what to do underneath the brow to actually blend that into, or the highlight from underneath there into that really light pink, which is a little bit too high for me at the moment. So I'll show you what I do there, and I'll put some lashes on and some lippy. Just a quick note while I'm doing my brows, if you can, bring that tail outwards instead of downwards. It's just going to accentuate if you've got droopy or downturned eyes. So try and do the arch of the brow just a little bit further out, and then just bring that out almost on a like a 45-degree angle. So it just elongates your brow there and doesn't wrap around your eye. So what we've tried to do basically with the eyeshadow is to make as much use of that space in the hood as we can. So we're sort of wrapping around that space, but not downwards. Okay, so I'm back into my Rimmel. If you've watched a few of my tutorials, you know I love this product. So I just basically go in on a very small angle brush right up underneath my brow there, just to make that shape as perfect as I can, straight down to the outer corner there. And then what I do is just blend that down with the same brush into that pink, and then you'll see me go back in with the pink brush with no extra product on in a sec. So you're basically creating that highlight and sharpening up that brow, making the shape perfect. And just blending it down with the side of the brush. So I'm not going all the way along to the corner of the brow, I'm just basically starting halfway through the pupil basically. Some on the side of the brush, and then I'll just sharpen up the top of the brow as well. So I'm going across and down, and then I'll blend that up. That just gives you a bit of a highlight above the brow as well. God, the wrinkles are coming fast and furious on my forehead. Oh, God, if I could just go like this. Okay, so we've got that in. Did forget to brush through my brows. So basically just brushing up at the start of the brow, across through the middle there, and then following it down. Now I'm not having a perfect brow day again. Okay, so taking that Dose of Colours blending brush, just swipe off on a towel any product that would be on it, and you're basically just going back up into that very light pink and just blending it into that highlight colour, so you've not got a broken line there again. Just very lightly, making sure they're even. Okay, so I'll go ahead and do some lashes. Now I'm excited about these. I found some Illamasqua number 21 Doe, I think they're called. But I'll just show you them before I put them on, but they're absolutely perfect for hooded eyes. Now they are quite long, and if you've got small eyes they may be a little bit intimidating at first. I did think they were a bit too much for me, but I think I really like them. So I'll just show you those. Show you them in the plastic. Now they do remind me a little bit of the House of Lashes Iconic, but they're just not as voluminous. So when you put them on you can actually still see through into the shadow beyond, so it doesn't cover up everything, and they're nice and long on the outer edges, which I like. Gives you that little bit of a 60s vibe, and just lifts those outer corners. Don't forget to trim them though, because if you have too much eyelash and it's hanging down here, obviously you're going to defeat the purpose. So I'll go ahead and pop those on and I'll show you what they look like. Okay, so I've got my lashes on. As you can see, they are quite voluminous, but they're just not full on in that section through here where you actually do want to see your eye colour, eyeshadow. So some of them are just like the House of Lashes Iconic, which I love as well, but they're just too voluminous through this section here, and these are just a little bit lighter so you can actually see through. So I do like those. So I'm just popping a little bit of mascara on the bottom lash line. I did go in and reapply that eyeliner. My eyes are watering, so I've got this tiny little section on the outside here that just won't take any colour. So I tried to put it back on, but it's just a waste of time. So MAC Gigablack Lash on the bottom lash line. It's the only mascara that I trust to not transfer, and I have used hundreds of mascaras in my time, so I'm not going too heavy on the bottom there. I don't usually like a lot of, I don't usually put mascara on the bottom lash line at all, because I do like that heavy, top heavy look, but these are just really quite top heavy, so I really feel like I do need something on the bottom there. So I'm just going to blot that Leno lips off. So I'm going for a bit of a pink look. I just don't know about this one. This is Flora. I'll pop the colour in the description bar for you. It's a bit of a mauvey sort of pink. Oh, it's almost a brown. Now I do like my light lippy colours. I'm not worrying about a lip liner today with this one. And this is a matte. Feel like I need something else on top of there. Just let that dry for a sec, and I was thinking about using Natasha Denona. I'll pop the colour in the description bar for you as well, but it's a very light pink. Just over the top. Smells like a jelly bean. Okay, so that's my, I'll just wipe that off, because as you know, once you go over another colour, you pop it back in there and it just gets all messed up. Okay, so that's my technique for my hooded eyes. I wanted to use this palette today because I hadn't used it before. I probably could have chosen some different colours just so you can see the differences in the areas. I did want this to be a little bit more shimmery through here. that crease colour is quite dark enough. I do like that. But if you stick with that shape in general, don't forget to use like a flat brush. So a flat, this Too Faced one is great. And just make sure you put your head down and actually mark out that shape first and take it out in almost a straight line and then down into the outer corner. And then lightly blend that before you go in with your transition colour. And then, like I said, using a P.Louise or another eye primer on your lid and taking it right up to where your lash line actually meets the hood of the eye there, just so you can make that shape bigger. Because as you know, with heavily hooded eyes or hooded eyes in general, your crease line is way down here. So if we only put that beautiful lid colour on the lid right up to your natural crease line, you just wouldn't see it at all. And it would just be such a waste of such a beautiful product. Okay, so next tutorial I'll go over that again with you and use some different colours. Now if you'd like the video today, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, click on the notifications bell so you're notified when I do upload more content. Keep being the best version of you, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.